Hey, this is Meredith Elliott Powell, and you know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning. Well, it is for some of you, and it is time for a Sales Logic. I am hanging out here with my partner.
Hey, and we are live today at just finishing up Sales Logic Live. So, okay, Meredith lied. It's really about 4:30 or so on Thursday afternoon Central Time. But you're going to see it. Who cares? I don't care.
I did say it's 8 a.m. Eastern for some of you.
For some of you,
Yeah.
you're right. Okay. Hey, we just got done doing Sales Logic Live, and we had people watch not only in the room here in Dallas, Texas, but they were also online in Australia, Europe, and North America. We had a good time, didn't we?
Yeah, this is our first live event. And I say first because it was a huge success. We are definitely going to be doing lots more. What did we dive into today, Mark?
Well, we dove into a lot of things, but should we start the show? You want to roll the video?
I think that'd be a great idea.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
All right, we are back again, a Sales Logic. Now, you know how the show works. Every week, Mark and I come to you and we discuss a hot topic. We dive into a question from you, the audience. We discover a book, and then we have you leave with a lightning round. Now, this show is going to be just a little bit different because Mark and I are pumped. We have just come off our very first live event. That's right. We are in Dallas, Texas. We have been live all day, diving into what it takes to sell in today's marketplace.
And what's interesting is we literally just got done about 30 minutes ago, and we were excited to share it with you, the audience. So that's what we're talking about. And we do have a great book. It's the workbook that we went through today of the Sales Logic system. And one of the things that makes the Sales Logic system is its brevity. It's 3 steps. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what these 3 steps are?
Yeah, the first step is to contact. How do you get in the door? How do you really build that relationship? How do you actually get the door to open before you ever arrive there? Then how do you connect? How do you differentiate yourself from everybody else in the marketplace? How do you get price off the table? How do you get the customer and the prospect to actually want to buy from you? And then most importantly, how do you get it across the finish line? How do you close the deal? We discussed all of that and so much more.
And one of the challenges is because the economy is changing. Now, you know, if you've been watching the show, that here is realist over here and I'm the optimist. Okay, well, anyway, but the economy is changing out there and it's creating different opportunities. We really dove down because we had a wide range of people. We had commercial real estate people with us. We had people in the food industry. We had people in technology. We had people from all kinds of different industries, plus online. And one of the common things is it's more difficult than ever to close a sale.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time talking about speed. But you brought up a good point. We echoed it. You got to go slow. You got to go very slow at the beginning of the sales process if you wanted to go fast at the end, right?
Yeah, like we had a lot of challenges around trying to get through the door. What does it take to get through the door in today's marketplace? And as the economy begins to slow or begins to shift, it gets a lot more difficult to get prospects to give you their time. So we dove into the secrets of what it takes to really get the door open today and how to maximize the time that you are spending. I mean, Mark made such great points about the importance of time is the one thing you can't get more of. And so how you spend it in the sales process is really, really important. And then how do you prospect from a place of power, not desperation?
Well, and that's so key because time works on both sides. Because not only is our time valuable, but the customer's time is more valuable. And the problem is priorities change. We had a great conversation this afternoon regarding commercial real estate because priorities of a company 1 month are different the next month. And if I can't close the sale quickly, it's not going to close.
Yeah.
I have to have speed to close, which means I've got to understand your priorities. And we talk about this a lot. Customers are only interested in solving their top 1 or 2 priorities. You may have something that's really good, really interesting, But if it's not number one or number two, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there was just a tremendous amount of conversation. But one of the things that I kept coming back to, or the audience kept coming back to, was questions. The value of the questions, keeping the conversation going. You really talked a lot about this 70-30 piece. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think the media is part of the conversation. I feel like the biggest was where we dove into the most discussion was how do you get your price? And Mark, I got to tell you, I think that is such a critical conversation today because as budgets tighten, we get fearful and we start giving away price, right? We just want the deal. I mean, I know it. I'm guilty of doing it in my own business. You look at the calendar, there's nothing on the calendar, you get fearful about it. We really, really talked about how you get price to be the secondary or the tertiary thing that your customer is looking for.
And that's because you're focusing on the outcome that the customer is going to walk away with. Again, we don't sell products or services. So key. We talked about this early on. We sell solutions. We sell outcomes. And you have to understand what are the outcomes you can create. That's what you focus on. And as long as the value is greater than the price, there's a reason for the customer to buy. But again, I got to come back to that number one or number two priority. And to do that, I got to understand time. And I share with the audience upstream and downstream because you got to understand how does this decision, there's no buying decision, I can't say buying, investment decision that is made in a silo. It always impacts something else. What are those other things it impacts? That's how you ultimately get beyond price. Because otherwise you're going to get, if you don't understand that and you're going into the negotiation, you're going to lose.
Yeah,
Period.
absolutely. So you mentioned 70-30. And, you know, I am famous for saying the sale happens in the follow-up. It always happens in the follow-up. And I personally believe that follow-up is the most important, yet most neglected part of the sales process. I think it's most important because you've done all the heavy lifting. You've gotten the right prospect. You've built your reputation. You've gotten through the door. You've had that initial conversation. And then to let the sales opportunity go, what a huge mistake. Do not be surprised in today's marketplace if the trail goes cold. People are busy. They have challenges. They have a lot of things in their way of getting the deal to close with you. So with those things in the way, you have got to stay in the game. Now, the top two reasons we don't follow up is we think people aren't interested. Well, that's not true. Or we worry about being annoying. Well, if you're not using a value add follow-up system, and we'll probably devote a show to this, if you're not, and we talked a lot about it today, how to literally build a follow-up system that is value add, then you're missing the opportunity in the marketplace.
And it comes back to what I was referring to as assumptive selling.
Yeah.
Salespeople make assumptions, and they're so fatal, and it's mistake prone because they're not responding, so they must not be interested. You don't know. Until you have a conversation with them, you don't know. So you've got to stay in the game. How you stay in the game. And what I find so critical, if good prospects are hard to come by, why are we letting go of good prospects by not following up enough? And following may be, I mean, I had a situation the other day where I'd been following with a customer for almost 3 years and they finally engaged. I know you had same situation, but you just got to stay in front of them, sharing with them key insights. And guess what? If you know you can help them, they will eventually buy from you.
Yeah, we had a CMO in the room today, Chief Marketing Officer, who's worked for large companies. And he said the latest research says that when you interact with a prospect today, about 5% of the prospects that you're interacting with are ready to buy. 5%. The chances that you are going to interact with somebody at the exact moment that they are ready to purchase, it's just slim to none. And because it's slim to none, you have got to stay in the game.
Which tells you something that you've got to stay in the game with also 20 if you want to get one.
Yeah.
So you got to have enough people in your funnel. And one of the things we were talking about is how many people is too many to have in the funnel? And somebody raised the question, okay, I have 180 people. Is that too many? We kind of said that's probably about the max. But there's probably a sweet spot that we can handle, about 100. And that's what you dial in with and stay focused on them. Because you got to be able to show them enough love and enough interest. But again, they've got to come from similar ICPs. Because there was the concept I talked about, horizontal selling versus vertical selling. Horizontal selling is where we're just going after anybody who breathes, anybody who will respond, and that's anybody and everybody. There's no way we can follow up with that.
Yeah.
The best follow-up is when we're doing vertical because they're in a silo, they're in an ICP, they're tight We know who they are, and man, it's amazing how much better follow-up becomes.
Mark, one question that I've got is, so you build this list of 100 or you build this list of 180 prospects that you're going to go out and you're going to call on. Are they a prospect at that point, or are they a suspect?
They're a suspect. Thank you. I thank you for bringing it. You have to earn the right to be a prospect. And I always say this, you become a prospect when I know three things. One, I understand a critical need that you have, and it happens to be a need that I can help you solve. Two, I understand a timeline with which you can buy on. And three, I know that I'm dealing with somebody who is in a point of influence who can make the decision happen. Now, you notice I didn't talk money. Money's not in that. Because again, if I create enough value and the need is high enough, you'll find the money.
So basically, I create my list of suspects, and then I'm looking to get in the door with them and have a conversation in order to make them a prospect. Is that correct?
Exactly. So what happens is you may start off with 100, and you may ultimately find that there's only 60 of those that are really qualified prospects. So guess what? Then I come back and I put more in the top of my funnel, and I repeat the process. But the idea is I want to spend more time with fewer people. And I do that because I'm spending my serious time only with my best prospects.
Yeah, I think that's so key. But I guess the only way to get in the door is to consistently try to get those suspects' attention so that you can have a qualifying conversation with them.
Well, that's a difficult piece because who picks up the phone, who does this, and it's so noisy out there. But we start off today and you were talking about reputation. You have to have a reputation. Now, again, you can't boil the ocean to create your reputation. You're not Elon Musk. You're not, Steve Jobs or anything like that. You are just you. So that means you got to focus your presence in your ICP. Stay narrow. And we talked about social media. We talked about the power of LinkedIn. But there are some of you out there watching the show, listening to the podcast, where your industry is not on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So that means I've got to go we had a company in the room. 5 salespeople from that company, and their customers are really not on LinkedIn. They are not on LinkedIn. So what does that mean? They've got to do more by way of industry newsletters, industry news sites. There might be other ways or newsletters that I send out, etc. It may even be snail mail. It might be text messaging, but there's other means. But you have to approach your prospect on their medium, not your medium.
Oh, so true. You got to figure out where your prospects go looking for information, which is why it's so important to develop your ICP, right? I mean, you've got to determine who your ideal is. And once you know where they are, then you can start to get in front of them and build your reputation there.
That is so key because, again, your reputation arrives before you do. Apologize. They're clearing all of the food service from our meeting today, so apologize for some of that noise in the background. But your reputation arrives before you do. And stop and think about this. We always look at the reputation as what we think it is. That's garbage. It's what our customer thinks it is. And we didn't get time to come back around and talk about this more, so I'll talk about it here on the podcast. You got to ask some of your best customers, what's my reputation? Have that candid conversation with them. Ask them, what is my reputation? We did that after we got done with today's event. I went around the room and there were half a dozen people, and I asked them, I said, give me your feedback on the event. Give us a testimonial. Give us a video. And the idea is because I wanted some immediate feedback to help me understand what is our reputation as we look at doing Sales Logic Live.
Yeah, the other thing is I think that is so key. Figure out what your reputation is, then take control and determine what you want your reputation to be. I mean, we were talking about this today at lunch, and I said, I want to be seen a certain way in the marketplace. Some days I get up and I don't feel that way. I'm not interested in being that way. But if I'm conscious of the reputation that I want to have, I can then consciously carry that reputation into the marketplace. So I think it's that combination of figuring out what it is, but then determining what you want it to be and working to shape that reputation in the marketplace.
I really go back to last week's book, Dr. Cindy McGovern.
Yeah.
Sell Yourself.
Yeah.
And it's amazing your reputation, of course, in her book. And if you didn't watch last week's show, grab it, get it, because we talk about the book Sell Yourself by Dr. Cindy McGovern. See, we plugged a book in the show. We didn't even plan to. So there we go. Anyway, but the whole presence is you arrive. Nobody does business with anybody without first Googling you, period. And what does that say about you? Now, here's the challenge. This is so funny. I find this with salespeople. They'll sit there and Google themselves, but they're Googling it from their own browser, from their own computer. So guess what? It's already tainted with the algorithms of where they've been. You got to do it incognito and see what it says. But here's the mark that I look for. When you talk about reputation, am I viewed as trustworthy? Do I have accountability? Do I have integrity? Stop and think about that for a moment. Now, again, you can't define what those are. Your customers define what they are. And one of the ways, and I talk about this at the end, trust. You know you're trusted when your customer asks you questions about things you don't sell.
Right.
That means they value you. That means you're there's a level of trust there that happens. Integrity comes out when they're sharing with you insights about their company, about themselves that's not known publicly.
Yeah.
You know, when you have a customer who is willing to share with you struggles that they're having in their company, wow, guess what? They view you as being a person who has integrity because they can have that conversation with you in a safe space. Accountability. Accountability comes back to the fact that you do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. So there's a quick, what I just ran through was trust, integrity, and accountability. If you're not measuring up on those, then guess what? Your reputation's not where it should be.
Great. All great points. Now, Mark, we don't have a book this week, so I say we plug the mastermind. We talk
Yes.
about how people can get active and involved. So
Yes, I tell you what, we are really excited because one of the things is you got to be part of a community. Sales is so lonely. You were talking about A-Rod, the Major League Baseball player with the Yankees who recently retired, and A-Rod is known for his success on the field. And yet, what was the record? What was it?
he said that he was number 5 in the country
or in Major League Baseball for
strikeouts.
Think about wow. Wait a minute, for failing. But we know him for his success. But his attitude when he had struck out, and what did you say he said?
He just said that most people go to think about strikeout. He said, I'm fine with being. He said, think about that only 4 people in the entire country have struck out more than he is. He said that means how many other baseball players is he the leader? He struck out more times at bat than they have. But he said most people in that situation, most players, he said, end up quitting because they strike out too much. He said the others, their mental game, they've given up before they assume they're going to strike out. He said, I stepped to the plate thinking, yay, I get another shot to hit a home run. Mindset is everything.
Mindset is everything. And that's one of the key things about the Sales Logic Mastermind, because what we're doing is we're bringing salespeople together and we're creating a community for you to share and collaborate. Just a few of the things that we have in it. We are creating the Sales Logic Vault. What's the Sales Logic Vault? It's where you're going to get all the insights that you and I share. We get to speak all over the place. There's going to be videos, and there's going to be recordings. There's going to be lessons, and there's going to be all kinds of content. But couple of the key things is every month you and I are going to be doing a briefing. Yeah. We're going to be doing a briefing. We're going to share what we're seeing currently happening right now. So that's another tool. Another piece is there's a monthly coaching by one of us or both of us, and a Q&A session again that goes in. And when you're part of the mastermind, you get the whole library of all of that content. But wait, there's more, because again, we're going to have a community dialogue center for you to be able to converse. And one of the things that I know when we share this in the room, the crisis call, the monthly crisis call that you get to have with either me or myself, because you might be walking into a call, you might walk in and you're like, oh no, what do I do? And you can pick up the phone and you can call us and we'll respond. But those are just some of the elements. We'll put the full piece in the show notes. But those are just some of the pieces, but it's the Sales Logic Mastermind. And if you think about it, if you're not part of a mastermind, you're missing out. One of the things you and I talk about this, and you and I have raved about, we are part of a mastermind with 2 other individuals. There's just 4 of us. And we've been together, for several years? I don't know. And we've become like family. And every day we're trading text messages. We're helping each other out. We're giving each other ideas. We're shooting people down on some ideas. And what are we doing? We are helping to elevate sales profession in the other 3 people. And I think in doing so, in ourselves. That's what this Sales Logic Mastermind group is all about.
Oh, well, I think the most important thing is to understand that the sales landscape is changing. It is constantly changing. And you need a think tank. You need somewhere to go that you can stay on top of what you need to be doing to remain relevant in the marketplace, to remain effective in the marketplace, and to remain valuable for your customers. So, Mark, let's close it out by talking about the top 10 reasons you should join the Sales Logic Mastermind.
Well, first of all, to have a community, be able to share ideas and become a greater success with.
Yeah, I think to stay on top of trends in the sales industry.
To learn new insights, new techniques, new strategies that you can use and apply, just like what we were sharing today in terms of telephone techniques, in terms of email techniques.
I think a place to be vulnerable, to a place to come to say, I'm stuck in this arena. I need some ideas and thoughts.
Well, I'm going to build on that. It's that place, and when you're down in the funk, I don't know where to go. I can come here and I can get juice in my tank to rejuvenate myself.
You need a place to hold you accountable, to really make sure that you're being pushed to the edge of doing the best you know you can do.
By being around other people, it's amazing how a rising tide lifts all boats. When you're around other people who are looking to succeed, it's amazing how you will achieve a level of success too.
All right, I'll share one more. You share one more, and we'll close it out. All right, I would say that because if you want to really add value to your clients, if you want to be able to invest in your prospects, you need to be investing in yourself.
And I'm going to share right here. The only reason you would not do this is because you're already the number one performer and have been for the last 15 years. But you know what? That's not you out there. I'm sorry. That's why you need to be part of it. Now, here's the deal. We're going to put all the details in the show notes. We'll get the details out on the website. But we want you to get involved in this. And we got a very special pricing in place right now. It's just going to be in place for a limited time. So you want to grab it now. But yeah, that's it. So with that, we want to say, hey, thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend, because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. We'll see you right back here next week, 8 a.m. Eastern. Think about joining the mastermind. We'll see you there. And together, we are going to make this your best year on record.